you talked to Siebert? Have you talked to Gilbert to understand why they felt they had to resign?
I have talked to each of them after the resignations were done. These were individuals I knew both. I knew Todd Gilbert because of his legislative role, and I knew Eric Siebert very well by reputation. And again, this was the prosecutor, Margaret, who, when the Biden administration transitioned to the Trump administration DOJ put him in the role as an interim even before we recommended him, along with our Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin, as you mentioned. So after they had been fired, yes, I did call and say, I'd like to understand why you were forced out. And they shared thoughts with me without getting into anything about particular cases or particular communication they'd had with Trump administration officials. But I am convinced, and Virginians are convinced. I traveled around the state this week. People are talking about this.
Yeah.
Both of these individuals had a backbone. They wouldn't genuflect to Donald Trump, and they wouldn't bring baseless cases. And we shouldn't see that in any district in this nation. And it's sad that President Trump is more focused on retribution than serving his constituents.
Well, that Eastern District did come forward with this indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. Yes, it was just a 2-page indictment, no evidence presented publicly here, but it was convincing enough to 14 of 23 people sitting on a grand jury. Can you really say there's no there there?
Well, a bare majority. As you know, Margaret, there's 23 people on a grand jury. They need at least 12 votes to get an indictment. And yes, they got their finger over the bar with 14, although the 23 wouldn't agree on one of the charges that the U.S. attorney was pushing. So we will see what this case is about. It is odd that the indictment has so few facts, and I found it very odd. I used to practice in this court, and when the Attorney General put out a press statement after the indictment and said, we will follow the facts in this case, what? Prosecutors follow the facts before they indict. They don't indict and then say, well, let's see what the facts are. I think she even revealed that this is a weak case, which everyone in her office was telling her it was a weak case.
You, on your armed services role, I want to quickly ask you, you have said you are supportive of the creation of a Palestinian state. And we saw at the UN this past week, a large number of members just simply walked out when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke. It was a statement. Tomorrow, he's going to be at the White House. Ahead of that meeting, President Trump said this.
I'm not allowing Israel to annex the West Bank. There's been enough. It's time to stop now, okay?
That's a strong statement. Do you know how the United States should enforce that? How do you force Israel to step back from annexation?
Well, I was very heartened that the president said that. And you're right. I support what the United States voted for in the UN in 1947, a state of Israel and a state of Palestine. One of those promises has been met, one hasn't. And we need to be on a path for a Palestinian state that's demilitarized, where Hamas plays no role in its governance. And until we find that path forward, we're going to have continued cycles of violence that are bad for Israelis, bad for Palestinians, bad for the region. So I hope the president, who by all accounts has a strong relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu, makes plain that we are against annexation. And this 21-point proposal that the president has on the table, which is pretty similar to the New York dialogue being led by the French and the Saudis. They're different efforts, but they're trying to reach the same point: a future state for Israel and Palestine where both can live in peace, and creating stability in the region instead of the cycles of violence. So I hope the president leans into that at the meeting tomorrow. I was heartened by his comment. It would be a big mistake for the Prime Minister Netanyahu to look at all of these nations that have been allies saying, you need to change course, and for him to just pull his head in the shell and turn inward and continue to isolate Israel rather than move forward toward peace and more stability in the region.
Senator Kaine, thank you for your insights today.